Good morning. So we're on site today here in Bella Vista, and some of the problems that we're addressing with this tank system is we've got a pump system that someone's put in after the original installation, and the original pump system which feeds the toilet and washing machine inside the house. Now this tank system specifically is what's called a single piece slim tank, and we're going to be replacing the tank and both of these pumps with a new pump system and a filter setup, so that when the water that comes from the tank goes into the house, it's clean. Now, some problems that solves includes normal and functional operation of the toilets. Inside toilets, there's what's called the toilet cistern inlet valve, and that's what lets the water fill up into the toilet cistern, ready for a flush. If you don't have clean water going into that toilet cistern, what can happen is the filter inside the cistern inlet valve can block up. That can make the pump run for a longer period of time than it needs to, and it can also make dirty water go into the toilet bowl, leading to staining as well. It can also make the toilet cistern inlet valve leak. What we're going to be doing today is fixing all these problems, and basically the way that we're fixing these problems is taking everything out and starting again. One of the other problems that we'll be fixing today as part of this whole tank system replacement is that this pump system here has what's called an external float switch. Now, the float switch for this pump makes the pump turn on and off, because the job of the float switch is to determine the height of the water in the tank. When the water is high enough, the pump then gets fed power to turn on. This float switch design is somewhat problematic in that over time, a common problem that I see is when it's installed in the tank, it can leak. Now, this is the float switch right here, and as you can see, there's this stain there. That stain is a result of water leaking out of that over the years. Now, the new pump that will be installed today, while it's an external pump, won't have a float switch at all. So the problem that's solved by the new pump installation will be that there's no chance for an unnecessary leak in the tank. We're about to move this tank out, and we'll be doing that once it finishes draining the water. Now, this pipe that we've got here is the overflow pipe, and this pipe was originally put in as part of the original install. We'll be taking this off and reconfiguring it for the new tank that will be installed here. A defect that I've noticed here on this specific tank, and I see across a lot of other tanks as well, is that this particular overflow, while the hole that was put in the tank looks like it's neat and it's a good shape for the pipe, it's not actually sealed properly. And one way I can tell that is that there, you can see there's moss that was growing over time, and that moss is an indication that water has been seeping out very slowly. And another way I can tell is this stain here. As you can see here, it's a black stain that's run down the side of the tank, and it's done that all the way to the top. So the new tank system will have a different design of overflow connection that'll stop that from happening. So once we pull that out, you can see right there, that just came out like that, and really it shouldn't have been done like that in the first place. A problem that I've just noticed here with this original installation, which we're definitely going to be fixing today, is this right here. You can see that copper pipe is hard up against the air conditioner. It's not a good idea to do that. Over time, vibration or movement can damage that or make that come out in some way, or at least make it leak. So we'll be fixing that today by cutting the pipe somewhere around here and putting in a new ball valve here to isolate the pump system from the rest of the house when it's needed. We're up to the stage now where we're moving the old tank out of position, and one of the signs of a tank system that hasn't been serviced in a long time is this. This stuff, this black liquid, is something that's unavoidable for every tank. To stop this stuff from building up in the bottom of the tank is to stop water from going into the tank. This sludge is the same sludge that will kill any pump that you put in the tank. Now, if you look at the warranty guides for any pump system for a domestic rainwater tank setup, inside that warranty guide you'll see words to the effect of, this pump is designed to go in a clean tank or a new tank only. There is mention in there about what size particles the pump can lift up without damaging, but over time, when you've got all of this going through a pump, I can tell you now that there's a lot of pumps out there that don't work, and a lot that we've changed because of this alone. So it's important to remember that irrespective of whatever you do with your rainwater tank, you always get it cleaned, and ideally you want to have it cleaned once every 1 to 2 years. This is the aftermath of having a tank installed when it's too close to the house. So as you can see here, we've got some dirt that's caked up on the wall of the house, and usually this is because the tank has been installed too close to the wall. What we're going to do today is we'll be washing down the wall, we'll brush it off, and we'll also clean the slab just to make sure that there's nothing sticking out of the slab which could penetrate the bottom of the tank and cause it to leak. Our old tank has just been removed from the installation point, and we've managed to get the wall looking a little bit better. Now, what I'm about to show you is what's called a first flush diverter. Above ground tanks have them, and even underground tanks have them as well. Now, this one here basically comes off this pipe here. This is called the charge line, and that tees off just up there. The idea of the first flush diverter is that when it rains, the dust that's on the roof of the house first washes into this pipe here, this one right here, and then it fills up. As it fills up, there's a ball in here about that big, and the ball floats to the top when the water keeps filling it, and then over time the water then slowly drips out of here, and in a moment you might even see a drop. First flush diverters are supposed to leak from the bottom. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to show you how dirty it can get. Now keep in mind, first flush diverters will not ever negate the need for tank cleaning. There's only so much of the job that they can do, and realistically they only do a very small job of keeping the sludge out of the tank. So a problem that is here specifically with this site is that this first flush diverter is dripping and has always been dripping right next to the wall of the house, meaning that over time you're going to get rising damp or damage to the wall of the house because it's always wet here. Now as you can see, it's dripping now, and it's dripping off the moss that's grown out of this. So I'm going to open this up and you'll see exactly what's going to come out of this. You can see it already. Now watch this. So you saw how much sludge came out compared to how much water came out of that, meaning that these things only do a very small job or only a partial job of getting the sludge out of the tank. Nothing will ever negate the need for tank cleaning. If you want to maintain your first flush diverter at home, it's as simple as washing these out under a garden tap, cleaning it off, then you put it back in, and you would have heard the ball. That's the ball inside. And then once that's in, you just screw on the lid again. And as you can see, this red rubber that's in here, that's got a tiny pinhole in it, and it's blocked up right now because of the sludge that's built up on it over the years. But basically, that little hole is designed to let water out very slowly. You don't need any tools to clean this out. As you can see, I did this by hand. Sometimes they're a little bit tight. Just undo it and screw it back on. Now, some people, because they don't want the dripping there all the time, you can go to Bunnings or any other hardware outlet, and these things here that screw onto your garden tap are the same thread as these. So if you wanted to, you can fit a garden hose to the end here. And in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly how that's done. So we'll turn off this tap for the time being. We'll rinse out our first flush diverter filter. Hold that for me. Just put the camera on. When that's clean, put it back up in there. We're taking off our garden hose tap nipple, and you'll see it screws straight on. And get your garden hose, and there it is. So if you ever want to divert your first flush diverter away from the wall of a house, that's how you can do it. What will happen, because that hole is very big, the water will drain out of it very quickly. You can, if you want, pull out that red rubber and put it in there and then screw it on. Or if you want to, you can always get some black irrigation hose that's 1/2 inch in size, just squeeze it on there, and then you can run your black irrigation hose anywhere else you want. That's it. We've got our first flush draining here into the sewer gully. And here's our new tank setup. Now, as you can see, the stain on the wall hasn't gone away, and that's a shame, but the client is going to be painting the whole house outside, so the pipes, the wall and everything else that's outside is going to be covered up, new paint. And this is why we've left the plastic on it, so that when they paint, there's less drop sheets they need to drop over the tank. Now, what we've got here is our new pump system. We've got our filter, 4.5 by 10 inch filter, courtesy of Davey Water Products, and the new pump system. The old pump system had a float switch. This one doesn't use a float switch, it turns automatically on and off, and it cuts out automatically when the tank runs out of water, and then when the rainwater tank fills up again with water, it automatically comes back on. The diverter that we've got here is a hydrostatic diverter valve that's adjustable here with mains pressure. So before there was no mains supply ball valve and there was no isolation valve, and we've installed both of those today. And the point of having both of them done is that if this pump needs to come off the wall, if it needs to be serviced or repaired or replaced, basically we don't need to shut off the water for the whole house to work on the pump. We can just shut off the water here whatever water goes to the rainwater reuse line won't be in service while these are off. This here, this isolation valve is there so that if there's ever a suspected problem with the pump, the client will be able to tell straight away simply by shutting that off. And if the pump stops turning on and off or stops running, that means that the problem is not here, but the problem's somewhere further down the line, most likely a leak somewhere in the toilet system, or maybe even the washing machine, or possibly even a garden tap. If they turn it back on and the pump starts on again, that means that there's a demand for water somewhere else. Now, what we've got here is what's called an air gap. This overflow line goes out to the stormwater system, and the job of the air gap is that if this line ever blocks up or collapses underground, the water will come back to here and come back out of here instead of it going up and into the tank. The air gap, the responsibility of the air gap is to make sure that the tank doesn't get contaminated backwards if that overflow line ever blocks up. If you're considering a rainwater tank system, you would want to do some research first, and I'm hoping that this video series would be able to help you out with learning what's useful and what's not. You know where to find me: www.transformwater.com.au or watertankrepairsydney.com.au. You can reach me directly on 0468849529.